Welcome back to another episode of Focus on K-12 EdTech and the Education Experience. I'm your host, Doug Konopelko, Education Strategist at CDWG. Today, I talk with Alberto and Mario Herraez, two teachers in Utah, born in Spain, teaching at a Spanish immersion school with a passion for social-emotional learning. Let's dive in.
I'm Alberto.
And I'm Maria. And as you can see, we are twins. Of course, there's no mirror here, nothing, no magic tricks. And we are originally from Spain, but we are based on Utah. We teach in a Spanish immersion school. So pretty much we teach every subject in Spanish, and I teach 6th grade.
And I teach 5th grade. So pretty much he gets my former students, which is kind of cool. We like it. So we were born in Spain. We did all of our studies there. We did our college degree. We got it from there, our master's degree as well. And we had this opportunity to come to teach to the US. And we love adventures. So we said, why not taking this opportunity? So we did it 7 years ago already.
Yeah,
time flies, right? And here
we
we
are
are.
6 because like coronavirus doesn't count, right?
Yeah.
Like 2020, like we cannot count that year. It's like 6 years, let's say 5
Exactly. So before we get to our main topic today, let's take a quick detour because you did mention that you work in a Spanish immersion school, Spanish immersion program. So can you explain, what that is and why these types of programs are out there?
It's a pretty cool program. We didn't know about it when we were in Spain, but now that we've got to know this program, it's just amazing. So pretty much we teach every subject in Spanish: science, math, and Spanish language arts, of course.
And we have 2 classes, let's say like a class A and class B. So, and then we have a teaching partner. So in the morning, for example, I have class A and I teach science, Spanish, and history, three subjects. And then in the middle half of the day, I switch with my teaching partner. And I get the students who she had in the morning, and then she gets my students. And then I teach exactly the same lesson that I taught in the morning. Again, science, history, and Spanish. And she teaches the same. So pretty much it's like you get all of the classes, all of the subjects, you divide them in the middle, and then like half of them are taught in Spanish and the other half in English.
So pretty much students get 4 hours a day speaking Spanish and learning the content, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. One of the other passions that you share, right? So you share a lot of things as the eTwinz, but one of the passions you share is around social emotional learning, or SEL, right? As we call it in education. So why does this hold such a special place in your hearts, in your work, and in your education practice?
We really love it, as you said, and we are sharing, in different conferences or different trainings or whatever, the power of social emotional learning, because we think it is super, super important. We always say that, let's say that you take the best teacher ever, like best teacher, like 10 out of 10, and then you put that teacher in front of a class. And then that same teacher just like teaches this amazing lesson. It's the perfect lesson, like a
10 out of 10 again.
10 out of 10 again, no mistakes, nothing. If those students are not emotionally,
ready to learn,
it doesn't matter who the teacher is. It doesn't matter what the teacher does, they are just not ready. And it happens the same at work. When our students grow up, they go to their workplaces and all of that. If they are not emotionally ready to work, or they are not emotionally stable, they're not going to perform as very well. Even if they are super good at what they do, or even they are just like, CEOs, whatever, if they don't work on social emotional learning, it's not going to work.
We think that our role as teacher is to prepare students for their future, and there are a lot of people that right now are struggling with mental issues or like social relationships. So that's part of our future, and we need to start thinking that the EQ is as important as the IQ. Those things are going to be super important in the future. And somehow in schools, we just focus on the IQ. We just focus on like teaching that content. But sometimes we forget about that EQ, which is really, really important too.
Absolutely. So how do we put this into practice, right? What are some ways that you infuse SEL practices and SEL lessons into your classrooms?
Well, like first, we would like to say that there's this misconception around social emotional learning, and people think that it's just feelings. Like social emotional learning is just feelings. If I feel happy, sad, if I feel anxious, but it's not just feelings. There are a lot about it, not just feelings.
Like social relationships, like social awareness, self-awareness, all of those things that are really important, and they are part of social emotional learning.
So for example, like if we talk about empathy, how do we spark empathy that is part of social emotional learning? Like collaboration with other classes around the world. Sometimes we focus on doing projects with our class, which is great, but our students are collaborating with their peers in the same class. Say probably with people with the same background, same age, they live in the same area. That is not going to open their mind. It's great, of course, collaboration is always great, but what about if we do a project, if we connect our class with another class on the other side of the world?
From a different culture, a different country, those people, those students, they have a different perspective, a different background, and it's going to help our students to realize that there is more than one reality, right? That like a different point of view are also great, and learning from those point of view, we think that is very important for our students.
The more social awareness, like we do a lot of Skype or Zoom or like video calls in general with experts or with classes around the world. I remember, for example, a lesson that I did when I taught first grade. Yeah, I taught first grade. I don't know how I survived that year, but I taught it for a year and it was great. Most of it. And so like we were doing this lesson about houses around the world because like a little 6 years old, they think that everyone in the world lives like them, that like their reality is the only reality, and the houses and how they live, it's the only way to live. So we decided to do a lesson about how other people lived around the world. So I got this lesson ready. We did our lesson in our class, and then we Skyped with people around the world. So, and then we Skyped with a teacher from Nigeria, and then from Russia, from Sri Lanka, from China, from Canada, like different people around the world, different countries. So I remember that when we Skyped with this lady from Nigeria, she was explaining to us and showing to us that in some tribes in Nigeria, they don't have doors, and they cannot knock on the door. Instead of knocking, they clap twice. That is such a like,
it is the sign that I'm going in.
Yeah, like, that is such a simple idea, but for those sixth graders, it just blew their mind because it's like, oh my goodness, they don't have doors. Like, how can they live? So just, like popping that bubble, that they lived in, it's just amazing and opens their mind.
Yeah. So do you have any other examples where you bring, because I know you both also focus on EdTech a lot, right? So do you have any other examples where you bring technology into that SEL space or into a lesson?
Yeah, like we use Minecraft a lot, and Minecraft is a great tool to enhance social and emotional learning. If you haven't used Minecraft before, we here today, we encourage you to do so because it is an amazing app, amazing egg tool that is going to change the way you teach forever. So, and before you start using it, please do some research and get some materials. Don't go and use it because I'm saying so, just like do the research. So we use Minecraft a lot for pretty much everything in our classes. And Minecraft, they have the Minecraft team, they created these worlds that are called the Mindful Night. And those worlds are helping students to understand and develop those social and emotional learning skills. So Minecraft is a great tool to do so as well. You can also create your own worlds and share the world with your students. And in that world, you can create an adventure and a quest. And every activity they pass, there can be a social and emotional learning question or a social emotional learning adventure or whatever. So you can do that also in Minecraft.
And then we use what it is called mood meter or wheel of feelings. So like every day when our students, because another thing about social emotional learning, well, we love to talk, so you know that. So we are gonna
keep going.
So another thing about social emotional learning, and what we always say is that it cannot be taught in isolation. the same that, for example, coding, STEAM, those things that are trending right now, but like those things cannot be taught in isolation. They need to be included inside of the curriculum.
They need to be part of our routine, part of our culture in our classes. They need to be part of what we do every day, part in our curriculum. We don't need to teach social emotional learning in isolation. Let's get that and put it inside of our curriculum. For example, while we are doing language arts, what about if we ask for the feelings of the character of the story we are reading? What about if we talk about the scenario, the culture behind that scenario in the story we are reading? Those things, we can do it. And it is a great way to incorporate social and emotional learning to our daily routine.
And as I was saying, we have mood meter, like that it is included in our students' daily routine, morning routine. When they get to our classrooms in the morning, the first thing they do is they kind of like fill out their schedule. We do self-regulation as well, so that's part of it as well. And then they need to color their mood meter. What is a mood meter? So like we want to emphasize in something called emotional granularity. That is that like you take emotions and you put emotions into words.
In this case, into colors.
So like we have like this table with different feelings: happy, sad, anxious, I don't know, frustrated, like different feelings. And then our students need to color that square of the table with however color they want. For example, happy, they color yellow, sad, they color blue, whatever. And then after they've done that, they go to the mood meter, and then they need to color that day. The mood meter is a wheel of feelings that it has 31 spaces, one per day, an entire month. So they need to color how they are feeling.
We do this on OneNote. So pretty much it's everything online. They can complete that mood meter in our classes, in our partners' classes, at home, whatever, because it's online on OneNote, and we use digital inking for that, which is also great.
And why is that important? It's because like at one glance, like as a teacher, you can always get into their mood meter and you can check how they've been feeling throughout the whole month. Because sometimes we have those students who are struggling in silence. Like they're not gonna come to you and say, hey, I'm sad, I'm struggling, I'm anxious, whatever. They're not gonna tell you that, So
but like, we can always go to a mood meter and check how they are feeling. Not just 1 or 2 bad days. Everyone can have a bad days, right? We are looking for those patterns that are kind of like concerning for us.
So what would be, a couple books, blogs, resources, leaders, people to follow, or things that you've used in your research that you found helpful for folks who are looking to get started or infuse some more social emotional learning into their classrooms?
Yeah, we do a lot of research around this topic because we are doing our PhD around this topic. So one thing that I would recommend, there is a group on Facebook that is called SEL, SEL in EDU. And in that group is like full of I think it's like more than 20,000 educators around the world who shares resources constantly and shares different researches and everything. Also, if you are looking for a leader to follow, like Mark Sparbo, he always talks about social and emotional learning in the class. Also, Mark Brackett is also a good resource to check.
Yeah, and that Facebook group is we find it very, very useful and very, very resourceful, because there are teachers there that ask questions like, hey, I'm looking for a program, social and emotional learning program for K through 6, for example. Like, what are your suggestions? So other people just comment or reply to that comment with different programs and pros and cons of those programs, it's super, super useful. And it's a great community because people help each other.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Alberto, Mario, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today and sharing some of your expertise.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today on Focus on K-12 EdTech and the Education Experience. If you enjoyed today's show, please feel free to like, subscribe, and click the little bell so that you get notified whenever we post a new episode. Or reach out to me on Twitter @dconopelco. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time as we focus on K-12.